Trump's birthday/military parade is being described by many as incredibly humiliating for him, and saying that internationally he may have humiliated America by having it. And that, as the No King's Day protests were reportedly one of the largest mass protests in American history, with many openly mocking the Trump administration for trying to claim that 250,000 people went to his parade. Right in there, you have people asking, what did he expect? He has the lowest approval rating in history for a president at this point. People saying that Trump's parade was so empty and boring and quiet that you could literally hear the wheels on the Sherman tank squeaking. Which, on the note of boredom, the birthday boy was apparently not immune. I mean, it looked like he practically fell asleep several times. And then in addition to that, you had many people saying that it appeared that our soldiers were unable to march in lockstep, with many, especially internationally, pointing to other countries compared to us. I mean, this is China, for example. And you had Russians online mocking us, saying what Trump imagined his parade would be versus what it was. Right, then also with this, we've seen a debate playing out amongst veterans who say, we're trained to march, so these soldiers intentionally did it poorly. With that actually being a talking point that both sides are using, but with different objectives, of course. Though there's also, as you had other veterans saying, that the US military doesn't have ceremonial marching units, so this was gonna look like shit no matter what.
You guys, that's exactly the reason why you don't do military parade in the democratic countries. That was pretty embarrassing, you guys. Like, come on, man.
Bro, just imagine you're the president and it's your birthday and people would rather protest you than to show up to your own military parade.
You could see the exact moment Trump realized he was cooked. It was during his own birthday parade when he looked out at the crowd and he realized there wasn't one. This man spent $48 million of taxpayer money on what was essentially a sad cosplay of a North Korean military parade. And he still couldn't pull a crowd. We're talking empty bleachers, confused tourists, and one guy holding up a sign saying, "I thought this was a car show." Meanwhile, across the country, millions of people showed up to the No Kings protests. Like, it wasn't even close.
Can't say that in my life I've ever made fun of a 79-year-old who had a bad birthday, but, it's crazy times. I think my favorite part was coming home from the No King's Day protest here in my town to open my phone and look at his sad orange face as his $50 million parade went by that no one was attending.
Yo, the orange man just got the biggest embarrassment of his life, and this happened on his birthday. He was expecting a big, beautiful military parade, yet he got the FAFO of his life. This is why you don't do military parades in a democratic country. Because what did you expect, Mr. Orange Man? Well, Americans were not having it, because on the same day, they organized and held a mass protest on the No Kings, protest against authoritarianism and ICE, raids and mass deportations. And I tell you, the crowds were a big difference. And now people all over the world, man, are mocking and making fun of the orange man and America, because people in Russia are putting up some clips on the internet of their military parade and showing it as this is what Trump expected versus what he got. People in China, they are mocking and making fun of this, hilarious reaction. We are getting hilarious reaction from Americans themselves. This is strange. This is really funny, because if you compare the crowd that showed up at the military parade compared to the crowd that were, showing up in the No Kings protest, it's uncomparable, man. People are making fun of it that the crowd was so small and silent that people actually were able to hear the tweaking of the wheels, of the tanks that were rolling about in the military parade. But this is what you get when you have a delusion that you are the greatest, president of the United States, the one that was going to make America great again. But enough with the words. Let's take a look at this hilarious reaction. If you're new, kindly consider subscribing, hit that like button. Let's go.
Thousands of people. Everybody's gonna attend my beautiful parade. It's gonna be fantastic. 10 fucking people showed up. What is it that this bullshit costs? $45 million of American taxpayers' money? The same people who are complaining about immigrants taking over aid, from the pockets of the people of the United States, which they don't, by the way. They pay taxes so that these fucking idiots can parade this goddamn stupid weapons that solve nothing around the world. Bro, there's people going hungry in this country. Hungry. On the streets with no home. No recourse. There's people going into fucking debt so they can pay their medical bills, going into bankruptcy. And all that we can fucking do is spend $45 million on a goddamn idiotic parade to show the world how much power we have and how much stronger we are, which is really basically like a stupid dick measuring contest by a guy who is completely embarrassed, insecure, and orange as fuck. This place is so fucking ridiculous sometimes. I really like the squeaky tires, though. Que tenga buen día.
Hey man, did you see Trump's military parade?
No, I didn't see it.
It was a flop with a capital FLOPS.
For real?
I'm suddenly less worried that he's gonna become a dictator because Mussolini would have never allowed himself to be embarrassed at such a scale. Nobody showed up, for one thing. It was about the same amount of people you might expect to see at the Moab 4th of July parade. If that. He made such a huge deal about how this would be the greatest military parade ever and people would be awed and shocked by our power. Instead, you just see a bunch of soldiers discordantly shuffling down the street while a tank rolls by squeaking. You could not have made it funnier if you tried. There's a great Fox News clip you can see where the announcer goes, "Oh, the crowd is roaring," and then they cut to the crowd and they're just going, "Do you want to be in an episode of Veep?" Because I think we're in an episode of Veep, a show I've never actually seen, but I want to. Turns out Nazis don't show up in a pinch. All it takes to put them off is a hot, rainy day. Just very funny to me that Nazis were at home going, "Well, I'd step out, but it's just a little humid. My closely cropped hair gets kind of curly." Instead of Sieg Heilen, they would have all just been going. And then they keep showing you Donald Trump, and he's sitting there with the same expression that Charlie Brown got when his kite got stuck in a tree. Just sad and mad and disappointed.
Poor guy.
Give it to me, Donald. Your despair sustains me. Seeing Donald Trump sad turns me into the villain from Legends. Remember that movie? Feed me your misery. So yeah, Donald Trump looks stupid and I'm sure feels very embarrassed. So we're all allowed a very long and sustained laugh.
Okay, were any of my fellow veterans out there caught off guard by just how shitty Trump's military parade looked? I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I was genuinely shocked. Now, don't get me wrong, the United States Army has plenty of problems, but finding the pageantry and stagecraft necessary to pull off a tight public performance, not generally one of them. They pretty much nail that one every time. The presentation of the equipment was lackluster and uninspiring. The uniforms didn't look all that sharp. The marching was a horror story. Like, they're just walking. Nobody's in step. I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. I don't know. The entire thing just seemed tacky, cheap, and unprofessional to me, which is really funny when you consider the fact that they went out of their way to tell you that this was sponsored by random crypto scams.
Special thanks to our sponsor, Coinbase.
It's like a bad dream. To end on a good note, whenever I saw one of the Army marching bands, they looked pretty tight. They seemed squared away. And to end on an even better note, I love that the thing was sparsely attended. It couldn't happen to a better.
Do you know that military parade had corporate sponsors? It had yes, the squeaky tank military parade, Donald Trump's fucking birthday party that only employees that had to be there showed up for, had corporate sponsors. And this is the page. This is where you can see them. And this is right here, the button I hit. Let's take a look. I mean, this is America, so it makes sense that a car company like Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram brands is one of the sponsors, okay? And then, of course, Coca-Cola, USA, is Coca-Cola is a sponsor. But Walmart is also a sponsor. Walmart is a sponsor, which is wild because there are conspiracy theories of people who believe that Walmart is also a sponsor of the No Kings protest because people on Instagram are dumb. BNY is a financial services company. Goldman Sachs, you all know them, massive hedge fund bank, etc. Oracle is the company that is constantly trying to force the sale of TikTok so they can own it. And now we get into the funny area. This is where we get funny. Lockheed Martin as a sponsor for a military parade, total sense. The UFC though? The UFC, and mind you, I want to remind everybody, the UFC is actually owned by TKO, which also owns the WWE because it's Monday Night MAGA, guys. Also, many of you may have actually seen Coinbase, crypto president, podcast ad reads, Coinbase. But don't worry, it's not just fun. It's also dystopian because Palantir, yes, Palantir, the orb that's going to watch all of us and collect all of our data and keep building files on us as they upload into drone AI systems to float around because we don't want to pay people to do the fascism. Palantir, big corporate sponsor. Exeger, this is, or maybe it's Exeger, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. They're basically a supply chain management company and logistics. Again, makes sense because of the military, but this one, it took me a bit. Form Energy, I was like, what energy company is that? No. This is actually an energy drink. Form Energy is an energy drink company owned by UFC CEO Dana White. Yep. Form Energy. If you see somebody drinking this one, they're a Fed. And the final sponsor, Scott's Miracle Grow. That's right. Keep off the grass or they'll beat your head in with batons or something. I don't know. It was all on the America250.org website. You can see all of the corporate sponsors there. Legit shocked Target didn't fuck up and put their name in this list though. But I guess Walmart beat them to it on this one.
So we see that Trump has now ordained himself as king. And you know, the dangerous thing about that is God really has a way of humbling people in authority. I think about Pharaoh in the Bible and how Moses kept saying, you know, let my people go, let my people go. And God would send plague after plague after plague. And Pharaoh's heart did not soften until something and someone so dear to him was taken from him. And then it makes me think about Trump and how God is telling him, we are telling him, look, what you're doing is wrong. Let us go. Don't let this infidel from South Africa try to run our country. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't take over the Gaza Strip and commit ethnic cleansing. But yet he doesn't want to listen. So we see signs. We see planes falling out the sky. We're seeing all kinds of signs of things going on wrong. But I have a feeling nothing's going to change his heart unless something that's so dear to him is either shaken, destroyed, or done away with. Because when a person's heart is so hardened and they are so deceived and delusional, it takes something really profound to shake them at their core. So be very careful when you anoint yourself as king, when really you're nothing but a pauper.
Alright guys, there you have it actually. This is very hilarious because I don't know what the orange man expected, what he actually thought after all the signs that people have given him as, you know, the president with the least approval at this moment of his presidency. What did he expect, you know? He wanted to hold a big, beautiful military parade on his birthday, but it ended up being a disaster. And this now is causing a lot of country to come online and hilariously, you know, make fun of the United States. You know, people are showing their country's military parades against the United States and what happened. This is exactly why you don't hold such things in a democratic country. These are the things that are better left for the dictatorships and the authoritarianism of other countries like Russia, North Korea, China. You know, leave these to such people. You are a democratic country. You cannot hold such things. We all know what happens when there is a military parade. We all know that, you know, those who are marching have to march with a sequence. You know, their foot have to be in sequence. But the funny thing is that when actually we watch these videos, we see that the soldiers are not in sequence, you know, if you know what I mean. Their foot, you know, when they're doing that, you know, 1, 2 marching, you know, everything is not in sequence. It doesn't even look like a military parade. And you know, the people who are marching, the soldiers who are marching, they don't look happy, they don't look like they're enjoying anything. But well, I don't know, man. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about this hilarious turnout? But in retrospect, Americans turned out in numbers in the No Kings protest, protesting authoritarianism and, you know, ICE raids and mass deportation. Well, people turned in their numbers, man. Over 10,000 Americans were there just to march and protest and, you know, show that they're not happy with, you know, the orange man's policies and how he's treating illegal immigrants and how ICE is doing and conducting their raids in cities all across America. And we know all this was meant to be, you know, like a buffer to the Trump parade and the military parade that was happening in Washington. And people made sure that their protests came out in numbers, that the crowd in the protest actually, you know, overshadowed everything that, you know, we saw happening at the military parade. Well, I don't know, what do you think, man? What do you think about this? I don't know if the orange man thought that people like him. I don't know what he thought. I don't know why he thought that people are going to turn out in numbers. I don't know why he thought that people are going to show up. I don't understand, man. I think he should have read the picture and read the signs and everything, but maybe he wanted to do something for his birthday and throw himself the greatest birthday of his life, of any president in the States. But it ended up in a disaster, man. It ended up in a humiliation, man. This is what happens when you hold a military parade in a democratic country. Well, it is finally the orange man's FAFO season. He effed around. Now he's finding out. Let me know in the comment section below. What do you think about today's episode? What's your opinion? Hit that like button. It helps with the algorithm and pushing this video to a wider audience. I'm your presenter, Joel Mugisha. If you're new, kindly consider subscribing. And as always, see you on the next episode.